Hi, my name is Liz. I've been GMing for about 3 years and I'm just about to finish a level 1 to 20 campaign. This was the first campaign I started, so it was a story I purchased from Paizo to run for my friends. Even though I'm running a set story, I've learned a few things about how to avoid the players feeling railroaded. Here are a few of the things I've learned. 1. Set expectations. I've had players come and go a bit, only 2 of the 6 players are original to the start of the campaign. Whenever I add a new player, I let the player know what the story is about. If they create a character that's motivated to explore unseen lands and conquer monsters, but the campaign is a story about a group rising up to take down an evil monarch and establish a free life for the citizens, then that player may be disappointed when their character's goals don't align with the plan. However, if your player knows the themes of the story, they can better create a character that will be motivated in the right direction. Now, that may sound like you're railroading right from the start, but in my opinion, what really matters is what you do next. But setting expectations is vital to ensure the player knows what to expect, both for the story of the campaign and the tone of the game. 2. Don't plan the whole story. This may sound contradictory, as I just said the players should know what the story is about. But what I mean is you should have an idea of the overarching plot points, but not plan the interactions down to the exact dialogue. Of course, you can have speeches and informations the players need prepared, but in my experience, the players never ask the questions that you plan for. So instead, know what motivates the NPCs. Know what will happen if the PCs don't intervene. Then you can react to what they do accordingly. For example, if the prince has planned to assassinate his father to get to the throne, know what that will look like if the PCs do nothing or fail, and know what will happen to the kingdom under the prince's rule. But if you know the prince poisons the king's dessert, you know what will happen when the rogue sneaks a piece of cake, or if the PCs inspect the kitchen spontaneously, or if they sneak down to get a snack the night before and they see a cloaked figure tampering with a flower. Then you can respond to the players accordingly. Set up a situation and let the players interact with it. 3. Don't have a set escape plan. For example, my group lost a fight. They were fighting an undead lord in an attempt to learn information that would lead to a dragon cult leader. That is, a cult leader who's a dragon. But they failed, they didn't learn this information, and they all went down. Instead of calling it a TPK or having them wake up back in town after a lucky patrol saved them, I let them get captured by the dragon. So now, instead of fighting their way down into the caves to him, they have to fight their way back out. The problem is they were in a cave on a ledge surrounded by a lava lake. I had a solution for them to get their weapons and be able to fight. This was by no means an impossible situation. However, I had not settled on a way for them to navigate the lava. I knew they could travel from ledge to ledge, but they would take massive amounts of damage. But the druid pulled out a spell I didn't even know he had. The ability to walk on water, or just really liquid. I allowed it to work on the lava, but if they stopped in the middle, they would take some damage. They agreed to this, and the fight went on. It was hard won, but they prevailed. They escaped, got the artifact they needed to advance the story, and the druid felt proud and valued for pulling out the key to victory. Trust your players. If they ask for guidance, give it to them, but give them room to solve puzzles on their own. 4. Let them be players. Players make some crazy plans. It's part of the fun. If my party is set on doing something that is clearly going to have dire consequences, then I will make the consequences clear so they can make an informed decision. But give them room to make that choice. My players had to sneak through a citadel to an underground archive. It's heavily guarded. They spent an hour and a half coming up with the most convoluted, out of left field, insane plan I've ever heard. It involved a smoking Met suit, a fight that wasn't technically a lie, a crying Leshy, and a lot of vomit. It didn't work. I knew it wouldn't work. I implied it wouldn't work, but they had typed it out and said to each other, "This is a great plan." They did it. 2 of them got arrested, 2 were driven from the citadel, and 2 made it into the common areas accessible to the public in the first place. A classic 3-way party split. But they had fun, they get to solve this problem next week, and no one died. Now, this situation would be different if I knew the guards would kill them on sight for something like this, or if one player was pushing the plan that would have social consequences. But in the end, they came up with this plan together as a group and all agreed despite the risks, so I let them play it out. And it was fun. And that's the point of the game. If something is a really bad idea, give them some ingrained prompts and hints. The dragon's claws are even longer and sharper than you expected. They could cut you open in a single swipe. He's still asleep, it's not too late to go back. Or the bartender gives you a look. He can see what you're planning and shakes his head subtly so as not to alert the patrol. If they're still not getting the hint, you can tell them out of character that this will be a bad idea. If they still want to do it, decide whether if this is something you're going to allow at your table. When they do completely go off the rails, and that's a when, not an if, consider rolling with it. It's more work, especially if you're running a published adventure path like myself, but it has the opportunity to really make the campaign the player's own. It makes their choices matter. My players were supposed to raid an evil organization's headquarters. The organization was evacuating, but the players were supposed to stop them. However, my players decided to see where they were going and stop them there. They tricked the organization patrol into teleporting the party with them, so they headed off to a whole new country. That was not in the book. I took the opportunity to use a location setting guide I had for Geb, a land of undead. It created a really great story resolution and concluded a goal the players had for themselves that was not written into the game, saving some dwarves that were kidnapped. If you're willing to homebrew a new plot point, it can create really great memories for yourself and the players. It doesn't have to be complicated. Where I sent them, there was a halfling that wanted power in exchange for information she could give the PCs. They didn't know she was evil, pretty much everyone there is, so they helped her become mayor, got the info they needed, and went on their way. It was a great time, and it wouldn't have happened if I told them, sorry guys, that's not where the story is going. The council is really pressuring you to raid the base now. Now, this doesn't mean you have to let the players do whatever they want. By all means, it could have been perfectly reasonable for that evil organization to be too well guarded to just let 4 extra people teleport with them. But make their failures fun if you decide a plan just won't work. Make it another part of the story. From that crazy plan from earlier that failed, now I have 2 PCs in jail. The stealth mission has turned into a jailbreak. Let there be consequences to choices, but don't look to punish poor tactics. Basically, give the players some room to do what they want. Trust that they can make the story a good one and that they can come out of situations you put them in. Now, this is geared towards groups that do well and respect each other, especially you, the game master. They shouldn't expect you to scrap every story point you had for adventuring in the city because they decide to hitch a ride on a ship and go on a swashbuckling pirate adventure instead. Nor should you allow one player to bully the group into a plan you know will have negative consequences. Nor should you yes and an action that goes against another player's boundaries. But if you're willing to rewrite a few things and the players all agree on a terrible plan, consider letting it happen. Players will feel railroaded if they know their decisions don't matter, like if they take a left turn instead of a right and there's just a dead end, because that's not where you wanted them to go. If they're just not allowed to make a decision, like if I had told my players they could not follow the evil organization where they were going. But those are just a few things I've observed over the last couple years. I like to create a situation, a circumstance that the players can respond to. Then I respond to their response, knowing the motivations of the NPCs and the other parties involved. It makes for a great story, and that's what we're doing. We're writing a story together. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I hope to see you on the next one. Have a good one.